Hi everyone. In this video, I'll be going over my brief impressions of Company of Heroes 3 based on my limited playtime of the technical test last month and gameplay I viewed before making this video. While this is likely to be outdated by the time the game releases in a couple of days, I still find it worth talking about to see what changes can happen after the rather unfortunate technical test last month. To add some context as to who I am, I have previously played a lot of Company of Heroes and its various mods, along with Company of Heroes 2 and its rather limited modding content on the Steam Workshop. I generally play Skirmish against AI alone and have enjoyed both games and their mods a lot. I only played 3 matches of Company of Heroes 3 technical tests as the Americans, so I don't have much gameplay to show, so a bit of the gameplay will be from another content creator, Gabriel, whose channel I have linked in the description. In my opinion, I think it's quite a marketing flop that they decided to release a technical test of the game that supposedly is not the latest version. In comparison, Company of Heroes 2's beta had very few changes to it compared to the full game's release, and I have a rather bad feeling that the same will be for Company of Heroes 3, meaning what we saw in this technical test could be very well the final product, which is likely the impression that most people got from playing the technical test. That's not to say the game is worse than the previous two games. It still has been able to make improvements over the other two games, such as the battle group system, which adds back the decision-making process of spending command points from the first game, along with the different choices in abilities, which adds an element of cooperation between two players running the same battle groups, as they can run the same battle group but with different abilities. Quality of life additions are also pretty neat, such as the automatic vaulting of infantry and auto-reinforcing. This certainly reduces a lot of the micro for new players, which definitely is a plus. Allowing all factions to construct base buildings without requiring you to produce engineers like the Americans and British in Company of Heroes 2 is also a welcome change that frees up engineers to do a lot more backline work like cache building or frontline work with flamethrowers, repairs, and fortifications. I also do appreciate the voice acting for the various units and the various faction commanders, which now have more voice lines in addition to the usual unit production and loss lines, such as the reminders of how the players shouldn't float resources such as manpower, munitions, and command points.
Let's get this over with. Commander, we should spend our munitions. We have a surplus of command points.
We're gonna be right back in a minute!
You have 3 command points available.
I'm pretty sure they also made sure that the faction commanders also don't spam the player about resource loading later in the game much, as most resources will usually be in excess in the late game stage. I think this really adds personality to the commanders, especially given the recent video about clearing the campaign mission and the commander announces the tiger's destruction.
Tiger terror is no more.
However, I do agree with the general consensus of the art style being a bit too cartoonish. It looks a lot less gritty than the other two games, despite having features like civilians and animals in the middle of battles and infantry being splattered by various explosive weapons. The weapon sounds are also unfortunately toned down over the last two games, which is rather unfortunate considering the previous games nailed the weapon sounds down relatively well.
Those are here! Snap to, we got the word. Order confirmed. Ground armor, engage! Sherman 105 in the hot zone! Reload! Engage! Push through! Hell, deep! What is it? Our orders are orders. Let's go! Heads up, we got the all clear. Have our objective. Listen up, we got orders.
I'm not sure what changes could be done to the final product, but I suppose it is just wait and see what the developers can do. Finally, I do hope the game has some decent modding support. The first game didn't have dedicated modding tools released by Relic, but still many amazing mods came out of it. And unfortunately, the second game's modding was heavily restricted as sounds and models couldn't be changed, meaning modders had to improvise heavily with what they had, which really limited many mods' potential. Hopefully, Company of Heroes 3 has good modding tools because those can really enhance the game's enjoyability for many and also make sure that people keep playing the game long after official support of it ends. As to whether I'll buy the game myself, I think it is quite likely I'll wait and see how the initial launch goes, along with various updates it gets over time, along with the launch of the DLC expansions.